Judicial service staff set to face legal action over their strike as Labour Commission vows to drag them before the courts.
So in the very near future, let me say shortly, an application will be filed before the court for the enforcement of the directives of the Commission. Of course, we acknowledge that the body before whom we will apply for the enforcement of the decision are the people on strike. But we have had discussions with the Judicial Secretary, and the position is that there cannot be a complete halt of the judicial process in this country. That would be dangerous. So steps are being made to enable us to enforce our decision in the law.
We'll get your reaction from JUSSAG and speak to a labor expert. Tonight on the show as well, we'll take you to Ashanti region where there is an emergency JUSSAG meeting of an increased rate of armed robbery in the area. All that and more on today's big story with me, Kwachi Afreniama. The storm over a strike by the Judicial Staff Association of Ghana is getting intense. The group declared a strike a week ago following what they described as government's failure to implement the consolidation of their allowances to their members, in fact, and activities at the court have grounded to a halt with litigants and their lawyers left stranded. Generated heated discussions between the Labour Ministry and the leadership of JUSSAG. Now, government has described the decision as illegal and ordered the workers to return to post. But they insist their demands must be met first. In the latest twist to this saga, the Labour Commission has fiercely criticized the association. Executive Secretary of the Commission, Charles Bardua, says their resolution is simply shocking.
Subpoena the parties, the JUSSAG and its members, and employers, that is salaries and fair wages and salaries commission, then the Ministry of Employment, then the Ministry of Finance. We also subpoena the Judicial Secretary. So on the 18th day of May, the parties appeared before the commission. The commission heard the versions of both sides. We heard that of the employer, we heard that of JUSSAG, and the commission came to the conclusion that, one, the parties were still in the process of negotiating. And the law requires that when the parties are negotiating, and it appears to the commission that they have not exhausted the negotiation process, the commission will refer the parties back to the negotiation to either complete it or declare a deadlock and come back to the commission for the commission to take other steps. So that was one. So we noticed that negotiations were still ongoing. So we directed that the parties must go back to the negotiation table, complete the negotiation, and report back to the National Labour Commission on the 8th day of June, whether successful or not. Now, we also noticed that contrary to the provisions of the Labour Act, which require any organization, union, which intends to embark on a strike action or a lockout, must notify the National Labour Commission at least 7 days to the date stated in the notice for the intended action before embarking on such action. There was no such notice.
Was this done?
There was no such notice by JUSSAG. And as a result, the commission came to the decision that the intended action was illegal and directed the parties not to engage in it and to go back and complete the negotiation process and report back to the commission.
Was this respected by JUSSAG?
Clearly not. The next day we got information, the media, that JUSSAG had in fact embarked on a strike action. And this clearly is in contravention of the directive of the Labour Commission. Clearly, it is not an action that JUSSAG should have done. They ought to have respected the decision of the National Labour Commission. You see, the commission, when it makes a decision, like in any court, you either comply with it, or when you disagree with it, there are steps you must take. One, you can apply back to the commission for a review of the decision if you think that there was something substantially wrong with the decision or some facts, some new matters which has come up were not in the contemplation of the commission at the time they were taking the decision. Then you come for a review. Or two, you appeal against the decision of the Labour Commission. JUSSAG never did any of these. And so clearly JUSSAG is acting in a lawless manner.
They are still on strike as we speak.
Yes, they are.
Despite the fact that they should negotiate and report back to the commission on the 8th of June.
Exactly.
And I'm sure that will mean that they should call off the strike and allow negotiation to go. Now, as we speak, they are on strike. What do you make of it?
Certainly. It's most unfortunate. I think that as a country, we must respect our laws. Like I have said, when you go to court and a decision is made, you are not happy with it, you don't say, I will not obey. You take steps to change the decision. You can appeal, you can review. You have not done that, and yet you are acting in gross disregard of the Commission's decisions. Now, what the Commission can do is to apply to the court, the law says, for an enforcement of the decision. Of course.
To call off the strike and allow negotiations to go on.
Exactly. Of course. We acknowledge that the body before whom we will apply for the enforcement of the decision are the people on strike. But we have had discussions with the Judicial Secretary, and the position is that there cannot be a complete halt of the judicial process in this country. That would be dangerous. So steps are being made to enable us to enforce our decision in the law court.
Well, the Executive Secretary of the Labour Commission asked that his outfit has, in fact, already initiated processes to sue the workers in court.
And see, we are in the process of preparing processes to be filed at the court. So in the very near future, let me say shortly, an application will be filed before the court for the enforcement of the directives of the commission.
But the people to move these documents are the guys on strike. How are you hoping that this action you are about to take will result in something good?
The judicial process of Ghana must not come to a complete halt. We are very confident of the steps we are taking.
What about the issue that has stalled or that has brought about this strike action in the first place? How is the commission helping to deal with it?
You see, number one, the substantive matter, I'm sure that is what you are referring to, is not before the commission. The substantive matter, the payment of their accumulated allowances, the payment of, how do they call it? They said, I've forgotten the term, but they said accumulated allowances. It's not a matter before the commission for now. It is a matter that is being negotiated between the parties. When the parties reach a deadlock, they will come before the commission. The commission will hear the parties and take a decision on the merits of their complaint. But before that is done, the parties ought not be on strike. So what we're dealing with now is a strike action. If they come back on the 8th and declare that there have been a deadlock, the commission will decide the substantive matter. That is the position now.
So these processes you are filing, it is to compel them to go back to work.
That is correct.
If they still stay home, disregard the court order, what will be the next line of action? Of
course. Unfortunately for the commission, the law did not provide what we call contempt of the commission. The law provides for that of the court. So if, when after a court has made a decision requiring them to go back to work and they refuse, contempt of court will lie.
So as far as the Labour Commission is concerned, what is happening now is illegal and ought not to have happened in the first place?
Yes, it's completely illegal, it's lawless, and I think JUSSAG will take steps to go back to work whilst they continue the negotiation process. You see, if you have a country where people say, we disobey the law, it is not going to help. How would that country develop?
But the argument is that the government is simply foot-dragging on resolving this particular issue. They spoke about a presidential committee that was set up later. That presidential committee work was stopped. The Judicial Council came in. The council has made recommendations. It's up to government to implement, and government is not doing it.
Indeed, if that is the case, and I am not speaking for government, I am not absolving government in anything. But I think that, as the law provides, if at the negotiation table, JUSSAG is unable to conclude its negotiation with government, come to the Labour Commission and say, this is our problem. The Commission would listen to both parties and take a decision. This JUSSAG has not done.
So for the substantive matter, Labour Commission, for want of a better word, doesn't know what is going on?
Of course, some correspondence, we have been copied with some correspondence, but to the effect that they have not been addressed to us as complaints to be heard by the Commission, we have knowledge. But they have not been submitted to us to hear and make a determination. That is why when the issue of the strike action came, we heard the parties, we took a decision. We gave them out to the 8th of June to conclude their negotiations. If they do not conclude, they will have to submit the substantive complaint before the Commission for the Commission to take a decision.
How soon are you filing?
So that was the Executive Secretary of the Labour Commission, Charles Bawdua. Let's get a reaction from JUSSAG now. Mr. Alex Nartey is the president of the association. You heard him there, but first, tell me, Mr. Nartey, I know you've been holding some discussions today. Any progress made there? Okay, it seems we lost the president of the Judicial Service Staff Association, Mr. Alex Nartey there, but I'm sure we do have a labor expert on the line with us, Mr. Kofi Davo on the line. Okay, so we can return to Mr. Alex Nartey, president of the Judicial Service Staff Association of Ghana. Thanks for your time here on today's Big Story. And I was asking the outcome of your meeting today concerning the strike. Okay, while we try to get in touch with the president of JUSSAG, Mr. Kofi Davo, labor expert, is still on the line with us. This matter certainly has dragged on for days. This is the more than the second occasion that JUSSAG has had a strike in more than 6 months, the past 6 months, but this one has dragged on for longer than the previous ones. Are you surprised by what we are seeing now?
Well, I'm not surprised, but I feel a little bit disappointed that it should come to this.
Mr. Davo?
Yes. I'm not surprised, but I feel a little bit disappointed that it should come to this.
What could be the problem, though? Tell me, from your where you sit as an expert.
Well, first of all, from a broader point of view and from a strategic point of view, I think there's something basically wrong with government-driven handling mechanism within the framework of its human resource management system. And I think these things should be strengthened to be able to deal with this matter before they fester and become a problem. When did this become a problem? When did it come to the attention of government that the people were contemplating and acting? And when was government served notice that they were going to embark on a strike action? These are all processes that have to be followed for a strike to be legal. And therefore, if the symptoms of this action were not seen as early as possible to enable the system deal with it, then I have a certain inkling that there's a problem with the conflict management system of government, and that needs to be done.
You think this has to do clearly with the conflict management systems of government? Do hold the line for me, Mr. Davo, because we've been thankfully joined on the line now by Mr. Alex Nartey. He's the president of JUSSAG. Mr. Nartey, you heard there the Executive Secretary of the Labour Commission indicating clearly processes to drag your association before court.
I didn't hear that.
But that's what the position of the Labour Commission now.
Well, that is not our focus, because we have, since time made it clear that we don't agree with him. As far as we are concerned, we have not flouted the law he's working with. And so our focus is to get closure to the issues we have with management and those things that draw us back.
And tell me, Mr. Nartey, I know you held some discussions today. Any positive outcomes?
Well, the position now is that JUSSAG has agreed with government to hold a meeting tomorrow.
So this meeting was with the Labour Ministry. You met with the Labour Minister today as well?
No, we haven't held any meetings as far as JUSSAG is concerned today.
And do I get a sense that your stance, your position now is based on the posture of government declaring the strike as illegal? And now we've heard from the Labour Commission also saying that they intend dragging you to court.
You see, we are not enthused about the attempt by Labour Commission. When we meet him wherever he wants to meet us, we will adduce evidence to him to see that we have not flouted, the law. Government knows that we have not flouted any laws. Government knows that we have worked in good faith with it. We have done all that we need to do as workers to ensure that this negotiation process yields the expected result, except that before God and man, there are gaps on government part. And we felt that that was not too good, and a strike had become an option for us to resort to, which we did. However, we are hoping, we look forward for stakeholders to desist from attempts of, demonizing our action and, find, positive means of dealing with the issue once and for all. We are not mischievous. We don't take delight in strikes. But at the time we declared a strike, we felt that that was the option at our disposal.
That's a point that has come up time and again. We heard government last week say that you did not exhaust the grievance processes. In fact, you were still negotiating with government. Today, the Labour Commission has made the same point.
Well, I don't know. I'm not too sure if the Labour Commission is really addressed with the issues. I don't think, I've never seen them since we started this thing as far back as 2015. The Labour Commission has never had a direct involvement in what we do, and I do not think that they have any better position to tell us what we have done right and wrong.
But you do not...
And so,
go ahead, Mr.
And so we don't want them to be making those comments. No objective forum will accuse the Judicial Service Staff Association of Ghana of a wrongdoing in the circumstances. And so we are appealing to everybody who tries to, create an impression that we are doing the wrong thing, to review his or her position so that we can identify the issues that are outstanding and deal with them.
But you do admit, though, Mr. Nate, that you do not exhaust your discussions with government, no?
I'm saying that is false. Anybody who has said so has lied to you. What processes are they saying are outstanding? The truth of the matter is that the Judicial Service Staff do not negotiate with government. We negotiate with the Judicial Council, and the Judicial Council has indeed issued a report on the fact that it had done all the necessary negotiations with us, and what is left is government part to implement the thing. What else are they talking about? What other negotiations, as far as the 1992 Constitution is concerned, must we hold beyond what we have done?
Interesting you talk about the Judicial Council. I must say that Labour expert Mr. Kofi Davo is still on the line with me. We will speak to him shortly. But talking about the Judicial Council, we understand that there was a meeting today concerning this matter. What came out of it?
I am unable to comment on whatever the Judicial Council did today.
But you were invited? The association was invited?
No, the association was not part of the meeting today.
Mr. Nate, tell me, are you worried about the implications your strike is having already?
I didn't get the question.
I'm asking whether you are worried, concerned at all about the implications your strike is having. Day one saw a halt of court activities, litigants and lawyers alike stranded. This is continuing throughout the period.
we have always indicated to stakeholders that we are not happy about our strikes. That has never been our desire, except that the system has pushed us to do that. And we shouldn't forget that, strikes are also, necessary tools to enable us move on. And so, much as we are not too happy about the implications and the fact that courts are not sitting, we must also state that we do not think that court users want to sacrifice us for what they want.
And Mr. Nate, I'm sure you're pretty confident that at tomorrow's meeting with the Labour Ministry will yield some positive results.
We have always had confidence in government and its agents, and we look forward that this time the meeting will yield the expected result. But I must say that we have never flouted any rules, neither have we acted in bad faith.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alex Nate. He's the president of JUSSAG. Thanks for your time. We can now speak to Labour expert, Mr. Kofi Davor. Mr. Davor, so you believe the decision by the Labour Commission to proceed to the court is in the right direction?
Well, first of all, they have expressed an opinion. They've examined the law and they are saying that what the workers have done is illegal. It's up to the court to determine whether indeed it's illegal. But then, having said that, I have a problem with the whole process of negotiation. If government is the one who is supposed to provide the money for payment arising out of negotiations with workers, and I expect that the mandate of government will be sought and the necessary levels given to the Judicial Council before they go into negotiation. I don't know if that was what happened. If that did not happen, and the Judicial Council negotiated with the workers, and now are going back to government for government to pay, that would appear to me a little out of place, because it is important for government, who is the custodian of the funds of the cash, to be able to give that mandate and indicate how much, to what extent it's willing to go in terms of how much you want to pay the workers before the council commits the government. I don't know how it happened, but if it happened the other way around, in which case they went and negotiated before going to government to get government to pay. Now, but impose the outcome of the negotiations on government, then I find that a little bit out of.
Do you have reason?
Hello?
No, go ahead, Mr. Davor.
But a more important question is, how do we resolve some of these differences as and when they arise?
True.
Should we always be embarking on strike action anytime these things happen? Why do we give cause for workers to think that the only tool they can apply is to embark on strike action? That for me is a concern that has to be addressed. There are processes clearly spelled out, like I indicated. Before the Judicial Council negotiated with the workers, they should have thought. I don't know if they did that or did not do that. But the normal thing I would expect they do, that any management would do, it was to go to government and say, look, we are going to negotiate with our workers. These are our proposals. This is the proposal they have brought. How much are you willing to approve for negotiations? That is approved. They go and negotiate, and immediately it is implemented. You don't negotiate before you go and seek approval for implementation. If you go and there's no money, what do you do? So these are some of the things I think that has run the whole process into some difficulty.
And moving forward, this is where we are now, certainly. How can this be resolved? He tells us, Mr. Nate tells us there's another crucial meeting with the Labour Minister tomorrow.
You see, the question I always ask, that why would these meetings not take place before the strike action? Why would they not take place? Should the strike actions be threatened, or should the strike actions happen before these meetings take place? I mean, that's the question I'm asking. Because whatever be the case, there has to be some dialogue going on? Why is it that the dialogue was not on go and it has to happen that the workers embark on the strike action before everybody is running a skelter to solve the problem?
Do you get
I think we need to examine that critically.
We are running out of time, Mr. Dabo, but do you get a sense that the posture of government and the Labour Commission could further antagonize JUSSAG members?
Oh, I do not think so. I mean, if something is illegal, it's illegal. So if the Labour Commission, in its opinion, thinks it is illegal, that's the first point of call, because you cannot allow an illegal. I'm not saying the strike action is illegal or illegal or illegal. I don't know whether they satisfy the processes, but I'm saying that if it is illegal, and we have to say that it's illegal, that is not a matter of antagonizing anybody. We work with law, and the laws will be respected. So if the workers have flouted the law, they need to be told so that they can correct their ignorance about it. Perhaps they are doing it deliberately. Perhaps they have not even flouted any law. But like I said, it's the court that will determine whether they are flouting a law or not. But the substantive issue would have to be the focus, which should be dealt with, so that we can have some peace. As it is, the public interest is being sacrificed. And that's the concern of everybody. Thank
you for your time, Mr. Kofi Dabo. He's a labor expert. Earlier, you heard the president of JUSSAG, Mr. Alex Nate. That'll be it for today's big story. My name is Kwache Afreniama.